Guys, welcome back to another episode of Beers and Stories. I'm sitting here in a partially constructed brewery with the amazing and talented Diego.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank
Glad
you for
to be
having us
here.
over.
100%. Thanks for making the trip all the way out here.
It's been an adventure. I didn't know it actually rained in Los Angeles, so,
You're coming for the rare time. You'll see unicorns in 4 days of rain.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I expect, a big rainbow to take me all the way back to the desert or something nuts. So anyway, we're sitting here in what is going to be BorderX Brewing, right?
Yep.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep.
So this is an old building that Diego, you got this from the city, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got these two buildings from the city. This is one of them, 7,000 square foot building. Was a bakery before.
Okay.
It's called Golden Bakery, which is really nice.
Love it.
And it was empty for about 12 years.
12, just done, abandoned.
Abandoned.
Nothing.
They were using it as a food bank, but hadn't done that in a really long time.
Okay.
When we first came in here, we opened the doors, and there's about probably 10,000 styrofoam cups. And
Are those legal in California, or did you?
That's funny. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah. Did you have to remediate that, or? Oh.
And all the floor, although it's a concrete floor, it was all black. There was a layer of effectively rat poop.
Oh boy.
And it was just weird. It was musty, wasn't sexy.
Absolutely.
And that's where.
So here
we are now.
You got to turn this thing around.
Yeah.
Well, very cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, help us out a little bit, right? You and I connected through Instagram. I think it was probably over city permitting, because we know that's always the most lovely part of any project.
That's right. We got our permit. I think you commented.
Yeah. It's I don't know how you did that. It's amazing. But if you could kind of catch everybody up, give me the 60-second version. How did you get into the business? What's your story? All that kind of. Because you're from the East Coast, right?
East Coast, yeah, Boston.
Okay, cool. So how'd you wind up sitting in a half-built brewery in downtown LA?
So I went to school for civil engineering. So I was in the construction world.
Oh, cool.
For maybe 5 years as an engineer, but big projects, not small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I gotta get out of this world. I gotta go do tech. I gotta start a company or something.
Okay.
So I left. But my wife and I have always done real estate, and so we were buying properties in Boston.
Oh, cool.
And then we always looking for charm, like brick, exposed ceilings, really, really unique stuff.
Absolutely.
And she's an she went to school for architecture.
Oh, you guys are the powerhouse team then.
I got very lucky. So she was working as a builder. And so we always kept real estate as sort of a side thing. Mm-hmm. And then I was in tech for a while doing different things.
Okay.
We did bow ties, we did video, we did data analytics. And then that brought us to San Francisco, Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And then my wife's like, I want to flip a house. And she's looking everywhere in the country.
Really?
So we're like, okay. And she finds one in LA, in the Hollywood Hills of LA.
No kidding.
Saying this is a great price. We got to buy it. We got to flip it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm super busy with the tech job. So I'm like, whatever, you do you.
Yep, go for it, honey.
And we're burning all the money in the world. It's just going. So I'm like, where's your spreadsheet? Doesn't have one. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh no.
So then I realized I should have been paying attention to this a little bit, or helping.
Your engineer brain just popped at that point.
And I get it. She's busy building.
Sure.
Right. So then I'm coming down to LA on the weekends, and I'm falling in love slowly with LA, with the weather, the whole vibe.
Of course.
And then I end up leaving my tech job. We end up coming to LA, finishing the flip together.
Wow.
And then we're like, we should probably just do this full time. And at that point,
so the flip went well.
Flip went really well.
Awesome. When did you sell that property? Has that been a couple years now, or?
Probably, it's a little bit less than a year ago. I think 8 months ago.
Oh yeah, you timed that beautifully.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I say this to everybody: success is like the worst teacher. Okay?
Oh,
it's the worst teacher.
That's
so my wife's
true.
like, oh, we did it. We made all this money. And I'm like, no. What happened was we got insanely lucky, and that'll never happen again.
Yeah.
So we went through an analysis where I was like, let's just deep dive into what we could have did better and where we got lucky to really understand what this looked like.
Sure.
And the returns were night and day.
That's an incredible idea.
And so at that point, I was like, okay, if we're going to go into business together, I'll handle the financing stuff. Mm-hmm. And you just do what you're great at, which is running the construction crews, architecture, dealing with city and the permit.
Absolutely.
And so that became sort of the business.
Very cool.
And then we were looking in LA for another flip. Mm-hmm. But I think everyone in the world wanted to be like the next HGTV flipper. So nothing penciled. All these properties were just going for prices that didn't make any sense.
Sure. There's no meat on the bone at that point.
Yeah. Nobody wants to make money, apparently. It was just silly.
Except the person who's had the house for 50 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so everyone's like, oh, you got to go to commercial. You got to go to commercial real estate.
Huh.
And I just thought that sounds so easy, but it's
Yeah.
not that easy.
Oh, this story sounds very familiar.
So I just started reaching out to everyone. And then what I did was I reached out to a couple firms, and I'm like, okay, if you are building a skyscraper, you know 2 to 3 years before that skyscraper is going to be built.
Of course.
Because, internally you're working on it, you're developing it.
Sure, plans and specs and everything that goes in.
Yep. So
Okay.
I was saying, once you have that skyscraper, let me know, and I'll buy the houses around it. And that
Yeah.
way I can kind of just ride the wave that this
Sure.
building is creating.
Have you ever heard of what they call the Whole Foods theory?
No.
So there's a whole real estate theory on it's more the single family people, but they track where the next Whole Foods is going to go. And they run around and buy all the houses because they're thinking, oh, this is perfect, right? They know who shops at Whole Foods and they know that they're going to need nice houses. So
Yep.
you took the Whole Foods theory to the whole skyscraper theory.
Yeah.
I like it.
Similar concept.
Yeah.
And there was a firm that said, yes, we would love to do that.
Okay.
And so I said, great. And so as we were doing that, analyzing what deals were there, nothing was really going to materialize in like that year. And I was kind of getting impatient.
Sure.
So then this firm also does big buildings, like they do $20 million plus buildings. But I said, but because you do those, you must have access. You must, people just must send you. Like if you know the politicians, that you just must get emails with, hey,
Sure.
I know these buildings might not be for you, but
if you know anyone. Yeah.
And they said, yep, we do. We get those all the time.
No
I
kidding.
said, great. What if we partner? So I pay you essentially for the lead and the relationships that you've cultivated.
Sure.
Because I'm new to LA. I don't know anybody here.
Yeah, you got to
Right?
you got to get the foot in the door.
I got to get it. And so
Yeah.
agreement was made, sort of find a partnership. And these two buildings were the first,
The result.
the result. Yeah.
Man, that is awesome.
Crazy.
Oh, literally just
Within 6 months of living in LA.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So that's you just pounding the pavement, hustling. Emails are going out. You're buying coffees. You're doing lunches.
I probably met every real estate agent that returned my email or my Instagram or my text message.
No, that sounds exhausting.
It was.
I'll bet.
The crazier part was there's so many real estate agents that don't respond.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I'm like, it's kind of your job. Like I wasn't emailing them saying like, hey, do you want coffee? I was emailing like, I'm an investor developer.
Sure, I'm
looking for
looking
my
for
next
it.
project.
And they weren't responding.
So, tons of non-response.
God, I always say one of the principles of success that I learned when I was first coming up in the business from this guy who was very successful. He's like, listen, you don't have to be the best. Just pick up the phone. It's like that's it. Like if you are nothing more, you don't even have to be good at your job, right? Like just be the guy who picks up the phone, and you will stumble onto something great.
That's so true.
You know.
I used to run sales calls, and my guys would be like, oh, Diego, I don't know what to do. And they're freaking out.
Sure.
And I'm just like, just do this.
Yeah.
And
pick up the
sort
phone.
it out. It takes like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You'll solve it.
It's crazy. But no,
Yeah.
and I run into that a lot. My last, we'll call it my last W-2 job was coaching salespeople, right? So how to talk on the phone in the call centers, and everyone wants to just send a text or an email or a DM on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that works sometimes. I mean, obviously, like we're sitting here, right? I didn't have a way of getting your number, so I reached out. But 9 times out of 10, just pick up the phone and things go better.
All the time.
Yeah.
I ran my whole team it was no email. I was like, email's today's fax machine. Get them to like you
Yeah.
and then text them. Because then you're
I love
friends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when you have a date, do you email your dates? Granted, I know it's different, right?
Sure.
But I'm like, imagine you emailing your
No,
date.
it's
Doesn't
very
that sound so dumb?
Yeah, no, it's all just relationship building, right?
If they're going to ignore you,
Would you email your date? Some people would.
Some people
actually.
would.
You
That's
know,
true.
I'm not that way personally, but yeah, there's definitely people who would email their date.
I just like the immediate rejection concept. It's like,
Yeah.
let me know if you don't like it now.
Yeah, if it's not going to work, like,
Right,
I'm
right.
busy, you're busy, if this isn't going to work, I totally get it. Wow. That is too crazy. So we're back. You've reached out to this firm. You guys have struck a partnership, and now we're here sitting in this space, which is beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm excited to see these brewery tanks go in and come back and try some. So tell me a little bit. So you were telling me you purchased this place from the city, right?
Yep. Yeah, so we got these both buildings from the city.
Okay.
And when we did that, we had to basically kind of like an RFP response, but really give them the vision of what we had in mind.
Okay.
And so this is a 7,000 square foot building. And the only thing that we logically thought could come in here was a brewery. Sort of, I don't know what else you do with the space this big.
I mean, I'd argue a brewery's probably the highest
Probably
and
the
best
best.
use of any space, but I'm biased.
And so our concept was brewery, and then originally, actually, it was brewery, and then the building across the street was going to be for like their tasting room.
Oh, cool.
So we thought this would be where they have all their tanks, and then the tasting room.
Gotcha.
And then it was just too much for the brewery. Like the rent was going to be too high. So then we said, okay, brewery, restaurant, and both are TBD. And the city liked the concept.
Okay.
And then we just begun doing all the due diligence. So doing the environmental tests.
Oh, I can.
We obviously saw all the rodent damage.
Yeah, so that's going to be a big one. So how, and you know, this one of the reasons I do this. So how tough is it? I have not done a building project in California. I've heard about them, never executed one. How tough is the environmental stuff out here? I know there's a line on your spreadsheet for it. I know that.
Oh boy. I don't know, because it's the only one I've ever done. So that's the only, you know what I mean?
Oh, really? And I guess, well, you come from the civil engineering world, so testing is just part of.
It's part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't expect to do it. That's one thing I can say. I didn't expect to do it. I didn't have the line item built in.
Really?
And then when we had to do it, it was actually really annoying because they found vapors.
Oh boy. And
vapors aren't anything significant, and they were below the parts per million that's required of you to do another test.
Oh my God.
The problem is it's like saying something could be there.
Yeah.
We don't know.
There might be some uranium in the ground or something.
And they say, we're advising you to do another test, but we don't know.
Boy.
And so it's this whole game of, but if I knew and I didn't do anything,
then
so I'm liable.
It becomes like this cat and mouse cover your ass type thing.
Exactly. So we did 3 tests on that building.
Wow. Everything went okay?
Yeah, luckily. But, I mean, you're spending money every time.
Oh, I'll bet.
And then here we only did 1, so we got kind of lucky on this one.
Yeah. Wow. So next time the spreadsheet's got the line item, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think it was about 60 grand all in.
60 grand?
Yeah.
No
Between
kidding.
the test and the remediation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, no, that's an oopsie daisy for sure right there. So, but that's when I did my first commercial project, because I have a very small commercial building over in Scottsdale. And I got into it, honestly, for a lot of the same reasons you did, which was I was trying to buy small multifamily or flip a house, and I was just getting my ass kicked on every deal. Like, people were paying way more than I was comfortable paying. They were running, 7% flip margins on big projects, and I'm just,
wow.
That just scares me. Maybe I need bigger balls or, more brains or whatever.
That's crazy.
And I literally, I jumped over, and a friend of mine was actually a commercial broker, and he did primarily warehouse space. He's like, take a look at some small office. Why not? What's the harm? Blah, blah, blah. And it was one of those where you stumble across the right deal, and your gut tells you going, it's my work,
Yeah.
And I don't know why no one else wanted it. It's been a wonderful property. I mean, the renovation was a total pain in the ass, but they all are.
That's awesome.
But it's interesting how that works. You have to, everyone tells you, you're like, oh, you just get into this and do a deal. And blah, blah. It's like, no. I spent a long time, losing deals and losing out to other people, and but when you hit one like this, I mean, it's got to feel good to be running around this place, like watching everything happen. And
it does. It's a lot more work than I thought it would be, and it's different kind of work. So like with this tenant in particular, we sat down with them, and they weren't sure that they were ready to scale their business.
Oh, really?
And so what I've done in my life was like the whole startup thing. So you go from an idea to raising money to the deck and all of that, really understanding the business metrics and like the deck to do that.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, send me all your financials and I'll prepare this deck for you. And I'll
You were literally the nicest landlord in the world.
But it was like required. Like without that, I have nothing.
Sure. No, you have to have the tenant to get the loan and everything else.
It's like, this is one of the things I didn't think I'd be doing this at all.
Wow.
So then I realized, oh, I see. They know how to make, I don't know how to make beer. Doesn't make me dumb.
Sure.
They don't necessarily know how to create a deck that they could raise money from. Doesn't make them dumb.
It's just different.
So let's do the skill set thing.
Yeah.
And once we did that, and it was really simple. We just broke down dollars per square foot required for you to have 2 locations, to have 3 locations, to have 4.
Okay.
And they had never thought about their business like that.
Huh.
And once they had the metric, I think they improved like 50%.
Wow.
The next month, and they just continued to grow.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Do they give you free beer now?
I don't know. I don't ask for it because I want them to keep growing.
Sure.
Yeah,
I
so
doubt you.
I
doubt you can drink enough to put a whole brewery under, but kudos for trying. It's it's a worthwhile goal. But wow, so they literally improve 50% once they put metrics on things.
Yeah. And they're continuing to improve.
No
And it's just
kidding.
subtle things. I just think it was like taking their business. Because if you think about it, if you're in the business, you're worried about beer, seating, the Wi-Fi,
Sure,
theft,
exactly.
all this
You know,
stuff.
is my bartender pouring beers for all their friends? Like, does the
Right.
tank have a leak? You're down in the weeds.
Right.
And it's hard to zoom out and kind of take that eagle eye approach to it.
And that's all we did for them. And then once they had that, it became really simple for them to
Wow.
sort of see their future too.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And now you've got this building that's getting revamped, and
Yeah.
you know, very cool. So, what brought you to this area? Do you live in this part of Los Angeles?
No, I live in West Hollywood.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So you just cruising around looking for city properties, and then your friends told you about this one, and you thought, why not?
Let's do it.
I love it.
If it pencils, we'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
It's a unique community too. I mean, so the brewery, they make Mexican beer, and what they're really trying to do as a business is grab the Latino market as it relates to beer, which is the fastest growing demographic, and the female market.
Okay.
And in San Diego, at their first location, they do both of those really well.
Awesome.
So the hypothesis was, if you already do that, what's a community that looks like what you're trying to hit?
So similar demographics.
Similar demographics.
Love it.
Bell is 93% Latino,
I noticed that driving in. Oh,
which is like unbelievable. It's like
Yeah,
one of the-
that's a lot.
In the United States, it's super. It's probably like one or two. Houston or Dallas might be second,
I believe
or
that.
San Antonio,
Very cool.
but it's like up there. And so
So they just did you help them run the demographics as well?
we did.
What are the odds?
We did. And when we did that, my whole pitch to them was, if indeed you can hit on the demographic you're after, and you can open 6 to 10 locations, at location 6, you can get an investor to come in and help you with the distribution. So like an investor that helps you distribute into these markets. And then year 10, Anheuser-Busch will come along, and what they're purchasing from you isn't your beer, but it's going to be the market that you've been able to
Absolutely.
grab. And if you have a retail real estate strategy that applies to both, then
No. So
That's
then you
the-
just double down. That is too cool.
makes sense.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it does. I mean, I've watched personally, we have a brewery back home called Four Peaks, and AB bought them, I don't know, 2-3 years ago for just a unholy ton of money. I don't know what it was, but that's, I know a couple of the owners personally, and that's what they were telling me is that's, they're not buying the kegs of beer. Like,
Right.
they know how to brew beer. They're pretty good at, I've been to one in St. Louis, this is where my better half's from, and they're really good at making beer.
Sure.
But they're trying to buy that network, and having the real estate to go along with that is just super powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That market. So
So we'll see if it works or not, but this is sort of the
Yeah.
step 2 of that journey
what a
for
great
them.
idea, though.
Yeah.
That is too cool.
Yeah.
So how's the project going? I know, like, I've reached out to you on Instagram,
Yeah.
because you got dust and bricks and stuff flying everywhere.
Yeah.
What's that looking like?
You want to know the bad part? No.
I want to know all of it, man.
The project's going well. I think we started. It's funny. When we first started, we thought we'd be open in July. So here we are in February 2019, January 2019, and it's likely the brewery will open in February.
Wow.
Permitting took a little bit longer than we thought.
Okay. So you were projecting last July or
Last
this coming
July.
July?
Last July.
Okay. So we're a little behind schedule.
A little behind, which is fine.
Hey,
Some of it was just we were in legal for a long time with the city,
sure.
which is great because we're not paying a rent during that time anyway. So,
Oh yeah. Hey,
That
Rome
was
was not
okay.
built in a day, my friend.
Yeah.
No, it's not how that works.
and then the building permit took probably 2 months longer than we thought.
Okay. What happened there?
I
So
don't
I know those are tough because you and I have pinged back and forth on Instagram about permits.
The city was great.
Okay.
Super helpful, but the fire department there, you're just one in the queue. No one cares
Okay.
about the city hall is right there. So if you're not
That's
watching,
it?
it's about 100 yards away.
Nice.
And so they obviously want the project more than anything
Sure.
because they've been looking at 2 empty buildings for a long time.
Yeah. So they're on your side. So who do
Yeah.
you have to deal with? You got to go through the city.
City,
Who else?
fire department. I think that might be it. City, fire, health and safety is pretty easy because we're not the actual tenant.
Okay, they're
And
more
so-
concerned with the brewery themselves, the tenant themselves,
Correct.
right? Do you have your fire suppression and all your
Correct.
cool restaurant gear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not a you problem.
No, but the fire was.
Okay.
And when you submit drawings to the city, to the fire department, even if they're perfect, they'll get you on something. It's like a unwritten rule. I've heard that people have told me this. Again, new to the area.
Sure.
So I'm like,
Well,
are
at
you
least
sure?
you expect it, right?
And they did that 3 times for us, and so that's why.
So every time they hit you with modifications,
Yeah.
what does that add to your timeline?
2 weeks.
And they did that 3 times.
2 weeks from, so you pick up the drawings, then your architect has to redo something.
Okay.
And then 2 weeks from when you resubmit.
So plus architect time.
But our architect was great. So they were like, within 24 hours, they'd get it around,
Good
which
for
was
them.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely buy them a beer next time you see them.
For sure.
So fire department adds 6 weeks,
Yeah.
but we're all fire safe now, so that's good.
Yeah, now we're good.
Okay.
I think that was it, to be honest with you. I think that was one that we did not. It's probably just our bad, to be honest. We just didn't think about it.
Hey, again, nothing since the Great Pyramids has gone off on time. It doesn't happen. So, okay, so we get through all of that, and then the hammer starts swinging.
Yeah.
Any big surprises in construction?
So we had our first, and this is good because we can be honest about everything. So we had a general contractor that I hired. Again, my wife is a general contractor. But I was like, you know what, for this
You
project.
made the very wise decision not to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Originally.
Okay.
And then I get a GC, and he charges me $2,000 for toilets,
For how many toilets?
for one temporary toilet. Now, for those of you at home that don't know what this costs, it's
Yeah.
about $200.
Dude, you're talking like for the porta potty.
The porta potty.
He charged you $2,000 for a porta.
So I write an email back saying, love what you're doing. Love
Sure.
love the 1,000% markup. Not gonna fly. Just
Yeah.
revise it, and we're good.
Absolutely.
I don't get mad. Just revise it, and we're
Sure.
good. Doesn't revise it, gets mad at me.
Oh, boy.
So then I said, maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Is this the amount for the entire project? Thinking maybe that's
He's projecting 10
a
months
10
of
month,
a toilet.
which is insane.
Sure.
Also insane. But at least now I know where he's coming from.
Absolutely.
It says no, that's not the case. It's like, okay. So I pick up the phone and I say, hey, thank you so much. I'm going to pay your invoice in full, but we're going to go in a different direction. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have your guys come this week and pick up your tools and
the toilet.
and thank you for
Don't
your
leave
time.
the toilet.
Yeah, cancel that immediately. That's what we did.
Really?
So then I called my wife and I said, hey, I need you to be my GC.
Wow. It's a bold move.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's going really well, huh?
Better, way better.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. She cracks the whip on them, keeps you in line.
Big time.
The whole
Big
9
time.
yards.
I think being a woman in construction is probably difficult enough, and she's a GC,
Yeah.
and these guys are scared of her. I mean, I tell
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, guys, she'll bury you here. Like, do not miss a deadline. She will bury you.
Yeah, that trench can get a lot deeper,
Yeah.
just so you know.
Let the inspection fail.
Yeah.
Let it happen. Say goodbye. And that's how she runs. I mean, it's hilarious, but
Yeah.
she's an East Coaster, and so she just
Yeah.
she leans in hard on them.
Absolutely. And you need that, I mean,
for sure. I love
this. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and a lot of people, for those of you who have not run construction sites, I mean, nothing goes on. And you do have to be the disciplinarian, I mean, we'd probably start a whole other show about, what happened on the construction site on this fine Tuesday morning.
Yeah, you have a lot of great stories. I've seen
Oh
them on your
my
Instagram.
God, I mean, just, why are you drunk? It's Tuesday at 10 a.m. Don't be drunk, right?
The story I always tell people is like you can have a room with 4 walls. On one of the walls, you can put an X through it saying do not remove. On all the other walls, you can put remove, remove, remove. And this happened to her. And
Really?
they took down all the walls. Even though it had in paint, like do not remove, do not remove. In big, like not little.
Yeah, spray painted on the wall.
Yeah. And it's
Oh.
just like things like that.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
And that's status quo. That's not,
Yeah, and that's
It
a lot
sounds
of
crazy.
it. And it's, I mean, to the outsiders, anyone in construction, I have a cousin who works, he's in Atlanta right now, and he's the superintendent for Brassfield and Gorey. You probably
I know them
that
well,
name
yeah.
from your civil engineering days.
Yeah.
And I mean, the stories he tells of just the people coming through there, and they build big stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, this is high dollar, all that, and it's day in and day out, on the construction side where you just, I mean, I've got a project going right now, and I've got some painters working in my building, and I literally I took one of the keys out of the lockbox
Yeah.
so they couldn't access the inside of the apartment. I was like, we're not even going to talk about this, right?
Yeah.
Like, the key is with me, it's in my bag, you are not going into this apartment when I'm not here, because,
Yeah, you
I mean,
have
I
to.
just had new floors put in, and God knows what's going to go on, so.
You have to.
Yeah. So the wife's quarterbacking the project now.
Yep.
Things are moving along well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any more snags?
The water department's the last one. So the water company won't come in and install water until everything else is done, basically.
Really?
And it's
So
the
you have
same
to do
process.
all the piping and everything else, and then they hook up to the main outside.
Yep.
Okay.
And so first it goes building permit, then you have to submit a separate set of drawings to the fire department just around
Back
for
to
the
fire
water line.
department. Okay.
So they do that, and then
Did they send those back?
they sent us back because that's what they do. Twice.
Oh my
So
God.
not 3 times, but twice this time.
Is it the same 2 weeks?
Same 2 weeks.
Oh my, that's 10 weeks on the fire department
Yeah,
in
no,
the
it's-
past 5 minutes of conversation.
They're busy.
Wow.
They must be busy.
They got a lot to do around here.
Yeah. Which is a good. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that's outstanding. Oh.
And then the water. So once those are approved, the water company then will say, okay, they'll take it to their design team.
Sure.
You pay an amount. And then they start their design.
So
And,
do they charge based on, what I'm familiar with, they charge based on the number of fixtures? So you have, this many faucets, this many toilets, and they have to size a line? Or is it just...
I've asked every question. I said, how much is it going to be? Oh, we don't know. What's the range? Can't give you a range.
Yeah, they use one of my favorite methods in finance, which is like a unicorn farts on a spreadsheet and spits out a number. Like, oh, you owe us this much money. Why? Well, the unicorn farted. It's like,
It's very much like that, yeah.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I'm trying to just build a budget, so can you just like give me a number?
Sure.
Is it $1 million? So I do the bookend thing with them. Is
Yeah.
it $1 billion? No.
Yeah.
Is it free? No.
No.
Okay, cool.
Okay, is
Is
it like
it-
$10? We
Right.
could go here all day.
So we do that.
Oh, man. So
So even now, we don't know how much it's going to cost, but
Really?
I'd say it's somewhere between 0 and 50,000.
Wow. So, and how do you manage that kind of stuff? They, so you've got to, I've been in your shoes. I mean, you're a few years ahead of me in the game in terms of size and dollar amounts and all this kind of stuff. I would love to do a project like this, although maybe not with the fire department and the city
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Bell after this. But like, how do you budget for that kind of stuff? So you have you've got a $50,000 line item sitting out there.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I might need 50 grand. Thank you, sir. I might need 50 grand. I might not. How does all that work?
The way we've done it is we've just built in a 10% contingency to the total.
Okay, makes sense.
And that's honestly been the best way for us.
Really?
Yeah. And
So just 10% fudge factor. We can say bad words on this show. It's like just you literally have like an oh shit item.
Exactly.
Like, oh shit, that's about to cost some money.
Whoopsies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
So 10% of the total. And so far, I mean, we've been right there. We haven't hit it yet. And so with the water,
Good for you.
We might.
Okay.
Still uncertain.
Yeah.
We budgeted 25,000 anyway, so maybe we'll hit it, maybe we won't.
Yeah.
But that's been the best way for us to set expectations for ourselves.
Sure.
Because otherwise, you go crazy.
Yeah. Oh God.
You start blaming everybody else, and
Yeah, and what? And
it's always better to start the project, and then add, this is how much I'm going to spend. Add 10 or 20% to that, and then go raise that money.
yeah, and if you don't spend it, then great.
Exactly.
Take the wife out for a steak or something like
Yeah.
that. So, and how did you, and I did want to ask this as well, so how did you go about, or how do you go about raising money for these projects, right? I mean,
Yeah.
unless you just pull it out of your pocket or
No.
dig under the mattress.
The way
How does all that work?
the way we did it, one really important thing for me is always to have skin in the game. If you don't have skin in the game, then your incentives aren't necessarily aligned. Because
Yeah.
things in real estate can go wrong at any moment.
Amen, brother.
And so if your money's not in there, right? It's like I read this book, and the whole concept is if you're a president going to war, your first child should be on the front lines, just like everyone else's first child. And if you're not willing to make a decision based on that, then you probably shouldn't go to war. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, wow,
So I
that's
read that,
fairly black and
and I was
white
like,
right there.
I'm gonna run everything I do like that.
Love it.
And so I
Remember
write.
the name of that book?
It's a Nicholas Khalib book. I think it's called Skin in the Game, actually.
Is it?
It's called Skin in
All
the
right,
Game.
I got to look that up.
It's a good book.
I will do that.
He's an economist.
Okay.
So, first and foremost, it's always important for me to write the biggest check or what I think will be the biggest check. So you don't really know, because you don't know if an investor will come in and say. So we raised 1.3 million for this project.
Okay.
So our investors range between 20,000 to 250,000.
Wow, big range.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so for us, we always match the most. No, for my wife and I, we'll always match the biggest investor.
Okay, so someone comes in, they say, I like you too, I like what you're doing, I'll pledge $250,000.
Yeah.
You guys are going to match that.
We match
to
it,
show.
and we start with that ourselves.
fantastic.
And we do that because as the project gets closer to completion, the risk is less and less and less. Like you're getting tight on your construction, you're getting tighter on your tenants. Everything gets tighter, so the risk sort of goes down.
Okay.
Which is interesting because in tech, this will be good. So in tech, if you, let's say I come to you with an idea, hey, I got this idea. You say, okay, cool. I'll give you $100,000 and I'll own 10% of your company.
Okay.
And I'll say, okay, cool.
Gotcha.
But now it's a year goes by. I'm ready. Let's say I'm making $1 million. Now I'm looking for a Series A, Series B.
Okay.
Your same 100,000 might get you only 1% of the company, because now
So it's been diluted.
I've proven. No. I'm saying to get to be an investor now.
Okay.
Like,
your money doesn't go as far. In terms
right,
of
because now it's
percentages.
like I have a solid business.
Got it.
In real estate, it doesn't work that. It's the weirdest thing. So an investor on day 0, when I had no tenants, gets the same exact return as an investor at day, let's say 365, when I'm fully booked, fully leased. So that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, there's no adjusted average there.
And this is a normal thing in real estate. I've come to learn with dealing with the finance minds of the real estate world.
Interesting.
So there's a model there that I will probably break, and I'll run things differently moving forward.
Sure. So you would do a different type of a percentage or what have you as you move through the project.
Yeah, big time.
Very cool.
Makes sense.
Complete sense.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It's very strange.
So let me just make sure I have this. So in your world right now, unlike tech, right, a real estate project, you can come in late in the game when the risk is much lower, traditionally, and get the same percentage, rates of return, everything else.
Yeah.
So why the hell does anyone write a check right off the bat?
To get in.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's the thing.
Wow.
Because it's also like it can fill up really quickly.
Sure.
And so then, you want to get in.
Yeah, and I can imagine, I mean, a project like this is it's such a cool thing. You look around and there's, this beautiful exposed brick, and just people want to be a part of something like that.
Yeah.
And you obviously, I think one of the things that drew me to this, and, drive across the desert and dodge all this weird rain you have in LA today, is just to see, this looks like an area, I mean, if these places were, you said 12 years?
Yeah, 12 years empty.
Yeah, so I mean, you're making a huge impact in the neighborhood, right? I mean, even if, let's say that someone comes through and Anheuser-Busch buys you out tomorrow, like the project still goes on, and the neighborhood, like what used to be a rat-infested dump, no offense or anything, you've turned into this beautiful project, and it's going to be here, I don't think people are going to quit drinking beer for a while.
No, same.
That's a good business.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's also revenue for the city. They get tax revenue.
Oh, I'd imagine.
And so there's, it's good.
So do you have to deal with any of the permitting process for like making or selling alcohol, or is that all the tenant?
That's all the tenant.
Beautiful.
We help them in some way. We'll just, the city obviously has some friends in high places, and so we alert them. We sort of the liaison, so we'll tell the city, hey, our brewery tenant is going ahead and do the ABC. If you guys know anybody, it'd be great to expedite that process.
Okay, gotcha.
And so it appears that process it went faster than usual for us.
Awesome.
So we got a little bit lucky there.
You are literally the best land. Like, helped them with finances, get the ABC on board.
You'd have to ask them that.
Yeah.
I certainly think I've done everything. But
you've got skin in the game too, right?
Correct.
And
which is really important.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
I mean, I get out of bed early and get after it on my projects, because if I lose, I don't want to be out on the street or move into one of my rentals.
Right.
That would suck.
Right.
So
right.
you do have to think like that. Man, that is really cool stuff. So, and the other thing I was gonna ask. So, tell me about the timeline for this project. You're gonna try to open in a month or two.
Yep.
Right. Get everything running. Launch the ship, if you will. And then, what's the long term? Are you keeping the building? Are you going to sell it?
Yeah. No, our plan for both buildings is to either put them on the market end of 2019.
Okay.
Depending on the market goes, we might just end up holding them another year or so.
What's your take on that, by the way? Because I get that question constantly. Where's real estate going? Where's it going to? It's like, I don't know.
So there's a lot of layers to the question, but
sure.
On the residential side, I think the residential real estate market will just sit tight because you have rising interest rates. Mm-hmm. You have no inventory, at least in LA. Mm-hmm. And so in my head, this means that prices will just stabilize, but buyers are scared.
Yeah.
And they know the prices are going to go down, and they're less aware of interest rates going up, and so they're just in a holding pattern.
Okay.
On the commercial side, like the buyer of these two buildings will be like a 1031 exchange. So you're talking about an all-cash buyer that's just looking to move money from one asset to a little bigger asset.
Asset A to asset B.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so I'm less worried about that buyer because that buyer isn't the mass market. They're not waiting. They need to move money.
Sure. They've got an army of CPAs and lawyers, and they just their spreadsheet might even be better than your spreadsheet.
Probably. Yeah.
But yeah, that does make sense. So this is your first commercial project in LA.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So you're working with, so it'll be interesting to see, I'd love to have a conversation with you, a year or two from now. Definitely going to come back here and drink some beer, by the way. But about that whole process, I've done some 1031 exchanges on the residential at very small scale, but the commercial ones would be fascinating, to get your take once you've been through that process and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'd love to share.
Yeah, no, man, I really appreciate it. So, it's just interesting to hear everyone's take because you're in such a different market than I am. And doing a project on this scale is pretty impressive. So,
thanks.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel that impressive.
Well, I can tell you from. It's okay to give yourself a little credit every once in a while.
I'm already looking for the next one. That's the thing.
And I think that's kind of a mindset thing too.
It is, yeah.
I'm halfway through some apartments right now, and all I can think about is the building next door to mine that I want to buy. Yeah. And I can't help it, but at the same time, it's interesting in our world and in LA. I got to plug it a little bit. Like this place is La La Land. You moved out here from Boston, you said?
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Yeah, I was in Boston and San Francisco.
Yeah, I think it's, I suffer from this, and a lot of people I've talked to on the show, it's like, you're actually royally kicking some ass with a project like this, and not everyone can do it, obviously, and, being able to pat yourself on the back every once in a while, it's okay. I mean, it doesn't mean sleep in too much, but, you got to be able to do a little bit.
One thing for us, we were pretty deep in with the tenant for the restaurant building. Okay. And deep, lawyers deep, and then they backed out.
No kidding.
While I was in Australia. So I found out like a week and a half ago.
Oh.
Which is totally fine. Like,
didn't wreck your vacation, right?
No. My mindset just goes to like, I need to get back to California to find the next tenant.
Sure.
So I kind of move on quickly in that way, which is a good thing. But at the same time, it's like, it's a bummer because we had this great, I felt like it was just great. Two anchor tenants.
Oh, like a good fit, right?
Good fit. They liked each other. They had a good vibe. So now we got to start over, which is okay.
Yeah.
But like that's the reality of the business.
No, and I mean, people need to hear those stories, because there's nothing. You think you have it, and as we all say, like, Warren Buffett said it best: writing a check separates a conversation from a commitment. You know, and I mean, I've made that mistake too, where they're going to sign, it's cool, the lease and the deposit, it's coming. It's not coming. Yeah. So you do have to kind of regroup, but.
We'll pay our lawyers. That's the winner. The winner's always the lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, your billing rate is what?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Well, man, I really appreciate you talking to me.
Likewise.
For those for everyone out there watching, like, where can people go to support you in this project? And kind of.
Yeah, so we're filming this entire project, and really to give a sort of look behind the scenes as to what goes on during construction, also to keep the community engaged. And so everything's on the Instagram, which is just at Diego_Ventures.
Beautiful. We'll put a link up too with the video as well.
Sweet. And then everything's on YouTube too, all the videos. The city actually also takes our videos and puts it on their Facebook page, which has been amazing. And so it just builds up the excitement for the project, because while we might be in what feels like the city, the center of this area, if you're 16 blocks away, you don't see this every day.
Oh, for sure.
So then those people see that progress and they're like, oh, wow, it's happening.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So awesome. And then when's the projected ribbon cutting?
This will be literally open probably Valentine's Day.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're about 30 days out.
I'm coming back. You said the beer's good?
Beer's amazing. Really, really good. BorderX beer in San Diego.
BorderX. We had to go some 805 today. It's pretty good, isn't it?
Good. I like it. Yeah,
I like it. But yeah, everyone come back. I can't wait to come back here for the ribbon cutting. And again, Diego, thank you so much.
Appreciate you doing this, brother. Yeah,
hey, man, like I said, this has been a lot of fun for me, and it's great to get all these stories down. I mean, the world needs to hear this kind of stuff.
They do. Yeah.
And you and the wife keep kicking ass, man. It's awesome.
I appreciate it.
Good stuff. Yeah. Anyway, everyone, thank you again. Thanks for watching Beers and Stories. Support Diego, everything he's got going. Once the tenant's in place, BorderX Brewing, come back here, catch a buzz, do your thing, and we'll see you on the next one. So, thank you, everyone.